Welcome to 60 Days Insider. I'm Dan Abrams. We just saw the inmates reach a breaking point in the last episode of 60 Days In. Now, the sewer continues to back up into the jail. Entire pods are being evacuated. Ryan diagnoses an inmate with appendicitis, and Dion confronts a CO over lack of water.
So y'all should come use these bathrooms then.
We're here in the studio with Phase 1 participant, Miriam, Sheriff Noel, and Captain Scotty Maples. We're also joined by journalist and fan of the show, Mark Abadi from Business Insider. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We appreciate it. All right, so in this last episode, we see raw sewage flowing into the pods.
I felt like I had herpes of the olfactory system of some sort. People could literally get infections and potentially die from this.
You know, some of this stuff is actually alive. I don't know. I don't
know what the that is. I've never seen that before. Worms. What the is a worm?
Leeches. What the?
Nasty.
That's a lot of.
Sheriff Noel, explain to us what happened here.
The water company was replacing a water line outside, ruptured the sewer line, so it's putting pressurized water and sewage back into the facility.
Captain, you ever seen anything like this?
No, I haven't. This is a freak incident, kind of once-in-a-lifetime thing.
Were you concerned that some of the participants might drop out?
Potentially. I mean, it was a stressful situation for the participants, along with the sheriff and myself.
So you're working frantically to solve this problem?
We had it fixed, I believe, what was it, Sheriff?
Roughly 36 hours, but, you know, it went from what we thought was a simple running the snake through to digging up the street, so we moved as quick as we could.
There was no drinking water for the inmates.
Probably gonna be off for a while.
And they like, oh, well, we're trying to get y'all some water, and then 3 hours later, we still ain't got water.
We need bottled water. Have you drunk water today? Have you drunk water? I need some water too. I'm about to pass out.
We had to shut the water off there because when they were flushing it, it was making it worse. We eventually moved them to the older section of the jail, which did have water.
Miriam, how do you think that the participants are handling this crisis?
Dion kind of spazzed out a little bit.
I'm looking at Brian, and I'm like, no, this.
I can't do it no more, man.
If you're not used to those kind of situations, you're gonna go off.
Who's used to that environment of stinky sewage?
Jail is hard, you know, and this show shows that.
From a logistical perspective, you're moving men's and women's pods in a jail. That's got to be a pretty big task.
Yes, we're taking half the population in the Clark County Jail and moving them to temporary locations.
Keep going.
Just don't shoot me.
Straight to the stairs and go up. Keep walking straight up the stairs.
And when different pods are combined, Captain, you've got a new set of potential problems.
Oh, yeah. We had to find out who has enemies with who, go through all the inmates, the gang affiliations, co-defendants, make sure you keep them separate. So there was a lot behind this.
And Mark, if you'd been a participant, not just a viewer, you think you would have been able to endure the sewage incident, or might you have said, you know what, towel on the neck, I'm out?
Honestly, that may have been the moment where I would have tapped out. It's really hard to say, but for the first time, I think that since I've been watching the show, I really connected with the entire group of inmates, not just the participants. And I think also for the first time, I almost felt a little bit of a resentment towards the corrections officers, just in the way that they were handling each interaction.
Y'all see that? Look at them drinking that nice water, nice cold water.
That reminded me of what you might experience in a prison in a third world country. No one should be subjected to that.
Does that hurt to hear that?
No, not really, because it's the truth. There's always unhappy people around the sheriff's office on Friday after I see some stuff for the first time on a Thursday night.
So you watch the show on a Thursday night and then see things that you didn't even know happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I see the full version, actually, when I'm sitting home with everybody else throughout the country, in the UK and wherever else. I'm taking those notes on what we need to do to improve, who did a good job, or who we need to handle because they handled it incorrectly or they acted in a manner that they should not have acted.
Ryan is now in C-Pod. He discovers a sick inmate there.
All right, man, what's going on? Tell me. Do something to you, all right? Yes, sir.
We actually
Down there more. He starts pointing to the lower right quadrant of his stomach. Got appendicitis, man. He might die, man.
Did you view Ryan as an asset in that regard because of his medical background?
The inmate thought he was having a medical problem. Ryan notified our guards rather quickly and abruptly and loudly.
Captain Maples, what is the protocol when an inmate is seriously ill?
Most likely an inmate will alert the guards. Our guards will come in, assess it, contact our medical, and then the inmate's passed off to medical, and then they either go to the hospital or medical deems them safe to stay inside the jail.
How quickly does that usually happen?
Just depends on the circumstance. Depends on the time of day, what we have going on at the jail, how serious the concerns are.
Mark, as you watch this, do you think of Ryan as an asset or is he a problem?
I thought it was actually kind of a calculated move on his part to kind of take the lead in alerting the corrections officers, because he kind of, as you saw, made a little bit of a scene, pretty much got the whole pot on his side, and that could pay off down the road.
You mean with more sales at the store?
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, they'll definitely kind of view him as possibly a leader in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he had like legitimate concern, but he did label himself a medic. I'm the medic.
But the frustrating part for us is honestly about 90% of the time, it's usually a faked or it's a perceived illness that isn't actually there. So it's tough for the staff to identify that all the time too.
Miriam, how would you have felt if you'd become ill while you were in jail? Would you have been concerned based on what you saw?
When I was in there, I was really concerned about the girl's rash. The new girl in the pod, she's scratching her body all over the place. She has a huge rash everywhere, side, back, legs. One girl said it sounded like scabies, but since there wasn't a nurse on call during the weekend, they didn't take her out. It really did scare me because I didn't know if it was contagious or not, and there wasn't a nurse there during the weekend, and I'm thinking a nurse should be there 24/7.
Yeah, since you've been in the facility, we added a second shift nurse.
Okay.
And then now they're on a call rotation where the nurses are called in first.
Okay.
Sheriff, does a situation like a sewage crisis increase the risk?
Absolutely. I mean, anytime you're in jail, people are on edge. Now put into the fact of besides you're put in a smaller area with twice as many people, it does concern me.
And Miriam, you've been in that women's pod. Are you concerned that the stress level is going to elevate and elevate?
When I look at things that are chaotic, you just never know what people are going to do. So in those situations, you just have to be very patient. Jail is a test in patience for sure. It's a level of patience I've never had to go to being in there.
I want to ask you both to predict what you think happens here or where we go from here.
I do think that Deanna's going to reach a breaking point because it keeps escalating and escalating, and I think that there is a part of him that maybe he didn't even know he could reach when you're put in that situation, when you keep getting almost dehumanized in a way.
I think he's going to calm down, actually. I think he's going to shed some tears and just break down that way and get it out. But I think he'll be okay. I think he'll make it through the program.
Captain Maples has expressed concern from the beginning that Ryan may not be able to make it.
He's a young guy with a big ego, and he's not as mature as he's going to be 10 years from now. I can see him getting asked to leave, possibly, if he takes it too far.
Mark, you think his store may get him in trouble?
I don't know about that. I think that he might actually be enjoying it a little bit too much. I think he enjoys kind of navigating that social ladder and climbing it.